watered down. Hello, Diana here. Welcome back to my channel. But if this is the first time I'm seeing your smiley face, please don't forget to subscribe. It's just right around here somewhere, just bonk, and you're subscribed. And don't forget to hit the little bell icon so that you don't miss any of the going-ons around the funny farm. Success, success, success! This video comes from necessity more than desire. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be making lard, rendering fat, doing any of that stuff. Like, fat is always something I thought you cut off from around your meat and toss or give to the dogs. I've never been one that eats like a lot of fat. I mean, I'm just not a fat person. But I fell madly in love with two little cooney pigs. I did. I saw a picture of them on Facebook and thought, oh my gosh, I have to have them. They're the cutest pigs. I did a video on them right here. But a cooney, if you are at all, or coon, however you pronounce it, if you're at all familiar with them, they are known as lard pigs. Now, quite frankly, I didn't quite know the significance of what a lard pig is. Well, let me break it down to you. Darn near half of Stanley's weight, or I won't call him by name because that offends some people. So darn near half of my pig's hanging weight was lard. So when the butcher tells me, dang Diana, I can see why he was a lard pig. Plus when they did the butchering, he was just totally white with a layer of lard on the exterior. Plus they have lard on the inside that's called a leaf lard. But at first I was like, oh, throw all that fat away. And then I got to thinking, if you have a lard pig, you best learn how to make lard because you pay your butcher per pound. It's kind of like they say, when in Rome. So I bought lard pigs, and so I needed to learn how to do lard. The first batch I rendered had a little tiny bit of a pork smell to it and was a little bit cream colored instead of totally white. So I live and learn. Everything I ever learn is from mistakes or YouTube University. So I made a better batch and I documented all of it. So enjoy, because like I said, if you have lard or if you have fat, render it. Here's another cool thing. You don't necessarily have to have a lard pig to render the fat. So I was visiting with a gentleman the other day that raises regular pigs, but then he always asks the butcher to give him his fat back so that his wife can render it. So there's no reason to have it go to waste. Lard is a much healthier oil. Any kind of an animal product, animal fats, is way better for you than something homogenized or homogenized, or I don't know how you pronounce it, but you get the drift. So veggie oil that has no veggies in it and all those other oils, your best bet is good old-fashioned fat. On top of learning how to render the fat into lard, or render lard as they call it. I also have never even cooked with lard. Come on. I mean, bacon grease. Yeah, I save the bacon grease. I bake my bacon so that I can save the bacon grease easily. So I cook with bacon grease, and it only just recently dawned on me I could do the same thing with the lard. So I am making lard in this video. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you when I'm done. So grab your fat and let's go. So the first thing is to get all the fat back from your butcher after your pig's been butchered. You cut it into small pieces. The butcher gives it to you frozen, so keep it frozen until you're ready to use it. So I am just cutting it into small pieces and putting it in my pan. I did put a little bit of water in the pan to kind of start it. The smaller the fat piece, the more lard you'll get rendered. So you want really small pieces. Some people will actually grind it. I also have a bag of fat that is going to be used for leaf lard, which apparently has no flavor, no pork smell to it. It's the fat from the internal organs of the pig. So it's a cleaner, it's like this lard you can use with anything you use lard with, but it will have a tiny bit of a pork smell and possibly a little pork flavor to it, as opposed to leaf lard will have no pork flavor at all. It's kind of the Cadillac of lards. So it's great for pastries and things that you want to make that you don't want any kind of a pork flavor or smell to. This is a very long process. In fact, I can't even remember when I started. So when I do the edits, I'll figure it out. But I think I started at somewhere like 4:30 or 5. It's now 9 o'clock. The lard is rendering beautifully. I made the mistake last time I made it of cooking it on medium heat. You'll notice now I have it very low, and I've had it really low all this time. So there's been times where it'll bubble a little bit. But it's rendering really nicely. But I got cheesecloth, and there's about 3 layers of it on this strainer, and I put a rubber band around it. I'm going to use this when I'm ready to get all the chunks out. Then I'm going to pour it through the cheesecloth into the bowl. And when I put it in the jars, I'm going to run it through cheesecloth again. I don't want any chunks and nothing in my lard. This is the last batch of lard that I made. And I give homage to Stanley, love Stanley, and the date on it. It's a little bit cream colored and a little bit of pork smell to it, but it's fantastic lard. I just cooked my last batch at a little too high of heat and maybe a little too long. So this, I'm cooking a lot lower heat, and it's coming out beautifully. My house doesn't smell either. That's one thing I think is interesting. When I cooked higher heat, my whole house reeked of pork fat. And on a low heat like this, you can't smell it throughout the house. So that's really nice. They could probably cook a little longer if I wanted them to, but let's face it, it's 10 o'clock. I've got to put them all in jars, and so I'm done. A lot of people can't believe that I can raise something and butcher it. But the way that I look at it is I love, nourish, care for, and enjoy Stanley. I gave him a wonderful life. He had all kinds of fun, all kinds of treats. And then now that he's passed away, it's his turn to love and nourish me. And that's kind of the way the world goes round. Olive is hoping I would drop something. Spur's figuring what she doesn't get, he will. And now Quill's wondering if there's something he should get. Show you in a second. Well, a second your time, a few minutes my time. I'm going to put these in the refrigerator and they'll turn beautifully white. Another thing I do is I put the lids on while the lard's still hot, and you'll see the little button moves like that. As it cools, that button's going to pop down. So as far as I'm concerned, that's kind of self-sealing. As you can see from the liquid in here, there's a lot of lard that could still be rendered. So I actually am going to, or fat that could be rendered. I'm actually going to render this again. So this will be the second rendering of this fat, and we'll see how many more jars we get. It's starting to get a little bit golden, and as odd as it sounds and as hard as it is to explain, the smell is starting to change. It is starting to smell more like, I don't know, crispy pork in the house instead of just melting fat. So I'm gonna go ahead and strain this the same way I strained the other jars. We'll see how much more we get. Woo! Almost midnight and I'm finally done. So 5 from the first rendering and 3 more now, 8 jars of lard, and it took me hours to render. Seriously, when I look back at this video, I will know exactly what time, but I think I started around 4:30 or 5, and it's now almost midnight. So I don't feel at all guilty selling a jar of lard for $12. And people pay it all day long. So when you work this hard for something and you've raised your pig and you've fed him right and done the butchering and all of the other work that goes into raising the animal, don't sell yourself short. It takes a lot of work to render good lard. This second 3 layers of cheesecloth caught some debris, so I'm glad I used it. I hope you learned a little something from that video. I sure did. So, in conclusion, here is the beautiful white rendered lard from last night. Here is the first batch of lard. If you can see, this is a creamy color, and if this was a scratch and sniff, go ahead, sniff. Yeah, it's got a little bit of a pork smell to it. So I don't know if you wanted to do baking goods. This is perfectly good. In fact, I sold all of these jars, which is why I had to render lard again last night, because my butcher gave me the bags of lard and I had them in the freezer. So all of this lard sold. This is all I kept for myself. But I wanted to perfect it. This creamy color and the smell, I believe it's supposed to be white and less smell. So it's perfectly good. I just overcooked it a little bit, and I made the fat ended up crispy, like people call them cracklins. So I've seen a lot of people like it that way. They like it cooked better because I've seen them eat the cracklins. Yeah, after smelling melting cooking fat in my house for hours, the last thing I was gonna do is put a piece of cracklin pig fat in my mouth. So you do what you want, you do you, I'll do me. But this is a really good lard. I sold them all and she's really happy with it, but I really wanted to perfect it. So I'm really excited about the batch we just made. Here is one thing in the video that I mentioned. I put the lids on while the oil is still hot. I leave some room in here, but I put it on while it's hot because automatically this little bumpy thing, see? The little bumpy things bumped because I've opened and used this jar. This one I tightened yesterday and it's not. So I have been excited to open this and smell this one because it looks amazing, but I wanted to smell it, but I also wanted to show you guys that this kind of seals itself all by itself. I didn't want to pop that seal, so I had to go put my face on so that I could do this video. So this is the big reveal about last night's lard. Another thing about last night's lard, I rendered twice because when I took the fat out, it still looked like it was a lot of juicy fat and I could get more lard out of it. So I did end up getting 3 more jars and they look exactly like this one. So just so you know, rendering a second time didn't affect the lard at all. So let's open this. Let's see if we hear it. Ready? Yeah! Oh, it has no pork smell at all. Again, I wish this was a scratch and sniff. Oh my gosh, here's the difference between the two. And if anything, this actually almost smells like cookie batter. Has really not much smell, but it's kind of a little vanilla-y smell. Love this one. This one definitely smells like pork. So, all that being said, this is the desired way that you want your lard. No pork smell, bright white, fairly soft. I could put a fingerprint in it easy. It's been in the refrigerator. I'm gonna store it in the refrigerator. But in conclusion, you want to do exactly what I did in this video to get the perfect lard. This lard, bless the woman's heart that bought it all from me, but I find this to be subpar. It's okay for my first time, but I don't know. It's kind of a little too much more like bacon grease. This stuff. Yes! Success, success, success! I made good lard. To think I'm celebrating my lard making abilities. So with that being said, I hope that you found this video helpful. I hope that your lard is white, creamy, and smells not much like anything. That's what lard is supposed to be like. So lard be with you. I hope you are making fantastic lard. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay surrounded by loved ones, and most of all, stay grateful for all of your blessings. Thank you so much.